Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with one of the members of our tribes who has come back. Welcome, welcome, welcome back to the tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Thank you, Gertrude. So I am Annabelle B. Bauman. B. Bauman is my stage name. I'm outside of Heidelberg, Germany, and I've been here since 2005. And my journey started, I guess I must say, with a fairy tale beginning, because I sort of came up through the foster care system and ended up being an emancipated adult. And with that, I had a lot of challenges in my life in my younger years. But I remember I had received a set of books from my mother when she came, and it got me started on this idea of fairy tales and living your legend and this type of thinking. And long story short, I ended up finally going back to school to get my degree in English after I had 2 children. And then I met my second husband and moved to Germany, which was just a 360, a total turnaround for me, because I found myself African-American woman in a fish out of water story. I didn't speak German, and we moved into a small town, and dealing with sort of the psychological challenges I sort of grew up with, sort of a PTSD earlier life that I had to come to grips with. And then being thrown into sort of a magical place. If you know Germany, and outside of Heidelberg, there's a huge castle. And this idea of what does it mean to live a fairy tale? And what did that mean for me? And how was I going to get there? Because I was basically Cinderella at the cinders part. Like, I had been basically blowtorched at a young age and constantly recreated myself. And that was what had gotten me through life. And then I came to this place, which was small. My husband has a very tight, loving family, which I was not used to at all. And so I went within. I sort of isolated because I didn't know how to be with people like that. I had never been in that kind of loving, cohesive, coherent group atmosphere. And I had to come to grips with that. And the first thing I did is I joined Toastmasters, which is a worldwide speaking organization. And I joined it because I wanted to hear English being spoken, honestly. And I've always loved English. And so I went to my first meeting And I was hooked on speaking as well. And as the months turned into years, I came out of my shell and I became a speaker for Toastmasters and an officer in my Toastmasters club in Heidelberg, and eventually president. And that, was like another change for me, because I was this girl who was such a loner, and I was part of what Groucho Marx used to say, that I wouldn't want to belong to any club that would have me as a member, so it was a turnaround for me. And I think the turnaround actually came, I remember seeing a meme, and I think it was in Pinterest, that said, why are you trying to fit in when you were born to stand out? And that captured my imagination, because that was my story. I had always felt less than, that I needed to somehow box myself in so that I wasn't too much, I wasn't too loud, people could take me in, kind of. And I learned from not just this meme, but from starting to follow more thinkers, motivational but transformational thinkers. First humorous transformational thinkers like Judy Carter. And I followed Judy Carter and became a student of hers. And she has the message of me, which is her way of turning your mess into a message. And I finished her program and followed her. And and so then I got into this rhythm of, wanting to emulate this thinking. Kyle Cease is also a motivational humorist of a sort, who, also speaks about, I hope, one of his books is I Hope I Mess This Up. And that sort of thinking about how to just be in the world actually ignited more than my imagination. It ignited my passion, and then I remember when just hearing Lisa Nichols, who's also a transformational speaker, speak, and so I got in my mind just this idea of, what is the message of me? What am I trying to share with the world? I stayed in Toastmasters for a good 10 years, almost 10 years, and I joined a women's organization in Heidelberg, and started speaking there. I decided to become a stand-up comedian. And then I was going out nights to clubs. And when we traveled, I would speak in clubs throughout Europe. And I had found my niche. And my niche is motivational humor. And so I remember I saw a woman on YouTube. So social media has really sort of helped me open up, just seeing these memes and things that people are thinking and saying. And this woman on Facebook, she said, why are you telling everybody your story? Why are you sharing? If you got so much to say, why don't you write a book? And I thought, yes, that is what I should do. And so with that impetus, I sat down and found another website. I think it was Udemy, and found someone who laid out, like, how do you write a book? You go 10, then 10, then 10. chapter and subchapter, and really broke it down level by level to where it was a complete outline. And I followed this outline, and I wrote a book called Girl, You Ain't Crazy, which for me is a book about identity and about accepting yourself. And I tried to write it with this humorous bent. And after I wrote Girl, You Ain't Crazy, I decided that I was a motivational humorist, and that is my niche. Also, that I want to teach others how to communicate better and how to live authentically. And for me, that means living with humor, because for me, humor is a rebellion. When you laugh, you're saying whatever is out there hasn't gotten you yet. You're saying, I'm able to look at this another way. Humor is a way of, laughing at chaos in tranquility. So whatever you've gone through, whatever your story is, once you have the ability to set it aside and look at it with another perspective and through another lens, then you get another picture of yourself. And so you start seeing how truly multifaceted you are. And with that, teaching became a way to show people how to use humor. And so I teach stand-up comedy courses right now in Heidelberg, but yeah, I want to take it throughout Europe, because I feel this is what we need, especially now when there's so much divisiveness. If really we could find a way to see another perspective, to not take ourselves so seriously, and to try to build together, to try to collaborate in our communication with the other. And that means people who may not have the same views of life that we have. And I feel humor has a huge role to play in that. And people don't realize, or maybe people do realize, but don't think about it enough, because humor always seems to be like the fluff. Like, I don't need to laugh. As children, we're laughing. I think some experts put it up to like 30,000 times a week, let's say, to be, to even be conservative. And once we turn into adults and get older, we're lucky if we laugh, 5 times a month. And that's sad, because laughter is one of our defense mechanisms, but it's more than that. Laughter is how we build easily rapport. Laughter is how we learn to navigate different situations. Laughter helps us with negotiations, and it builds a cohesion, because once you laugh with someone, then you've opened their mind to what you're saying, and you have now a way in. And so I do that with people. I take them through a 5-minute set, creating a 5-minute set, so that they can get on stage and they can talk about whatever is important to them, their opinions, their childhood, whatever they find to be emotional, that they can turn around now and share with the world. And once you do that, once you show up with authenticity, with being who you are, and basically stripping yourself down and saying, this is the core of what I believe or what I think. And then at the same time, to have the ability to have humor, and to see the recognition in other people's eyes that that yes, this is something that they understand, because what comedians do, what we do is we show people basically what it means to be human. All of us, everyone, and we all have a story and a unique perspective to share. So that's what I decided to do. And so I set up B Communications, which is about business communication and authenticity with humor. And I also have Heidelberg Comedy, where I teach stand up comedy courses. And I also put comedians on stage. My course is a 7 week course. And then after that, you actually get on stage with your 5 minutes of material and get to share that with people if you want to, if you want to. Some people take the course simply because they want small talk skills. So it's been a great journey just getting to this place.
Wow. You know, every time I hear your story, it feels fresh. It feels like I haven't heard your story before. You've had an incredible journey in your life. Now, what unique challenges do women face in the field of comedy and communication training? And how have you navigated these challenges? It's a very male dominated environment.
True, and there's ageism out there, and and racial divides. It's all out there.
Yeah,
But I think as women, we stick together more uh, in this field because we know that there's so few of us, as
yes,
well as trying to bring others along and help other women, and to help us women with our authenticity, with
yes,
just being able to show up as ourselves. And that's what I love talking about. And that's where I feel I can help other women with my Cinderella story, which isn't really a Cinderella story as much as a Berella story, where I just uh, found myself. And so I want to let other women, feel that for themselves, no matter where they are in their journey, because it doesn't matter where we are in our journey. We
yeah,
all have to come to understand our own myth, our own power. And yeah, and so when we have these discussions, we help to build each other and say, yes, now I can tell my story. And this is her story, and every time we hear one another's stories, it builds us all up.
yeah, it's true. That is so true. So, your involvement with Toastmasters and winning humor contests must have been a significant milestone for you. How did these achievements shape your career and help your personal growth?
Well, the first thing is that they gave me confidence that I did have a voice, that I could speak for myself, and that I could share something that others found valuable. With that, I've just sort of snowballed speaking to women's groups throughout Heidelberg in the area on Women's Day, and during celebrations. And it's been just so creative and so much fun to be with women and to be able to help them to just sort of shred some of that stress, some of that boxed in feeling of I can't show my power. Like I can't, and I'm like, no, show your shine. Go ahead and shine. The world can take it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, because we do hold back who we are as women. We are not shining out there the way we really should be. A full expression of ourselves. We hold back a lot, right?
yes, and it is. I feel like there's a generation, because generationally we all have had a different cross as women to bear, although it seems like the crosses just keep coming more people get to carry them. This idea
Yeah.
to be a woman, and and how much can I show up? And these are questions that, like, I was born in the 60s, and so, whereas I felt that I had to get married, that was just personally how I felt.
Yes.
I see my daughter now, and she's a major in the National Guard, and she just has another whole idea about what it means to show up. And she is just, she just has her own power, and they don't have this sense or need to get married and,
Yes.
know more about their own money than I ever knew about my money at that age, in my 20s.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's a different generation. So, as a communication trainer, how do you leverage your humor to enhance learning experiences, especially for women seeking to improve their communication skills?
Well, I have a special niche that I work with, engineers, IT specialists, women who feel that they're not communicating well in whatever, on whatever stage they want to be on. They feel like they're either not being heard, or that their message is not coming across the way they would like it to come across. And so what I do for these women is I give them, we go through different formats to help them understand their communication style. Do you have a passive aggressive communication style? Are you joking too much? Are you laughing too much? And how is that perceived? So
Right.
I take them through several different levels, thinking levels. Like, what is your thinking style? That was really revolutionary for me when I was a business English trainer. So I came from business English training, and I found Andre Gregoric. And Andre Gregoric, he has a thinking styles that goes from abstract to concrete, and from abstract, concrete, and random. So it's the idea, and so I'm an abstract, random thinker. And so that means it's usually I don't do things very one thing after the other. Um,
Okay.
so
So
I'm looking.
multiple things at the same time. You've got lots of
And I
pot cooking.
Yeah, and I see my kids now, and especially one of them, and they're like everything all at once, everywhere. So they have everything coming in at the same time, and they're able to handle it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, we're so used to doing things consecutively, one thing after. Some of us, the different cultures have different ways of doing things. So that's what I try to drill down with the women I work with, on their communication style, on
Right.
their thinking style, and what message could this be sending, and then what message do you want to send?
Okay. Now, being from the United States and living in Germany, do you find that humor is very culture specific? And how challenging is that for you to translate the English into German and still make it funny?
Oh, well, I don't have that problem because I don't speak German that well, that I can actually translate my humor. And I try to write articles as well. Articles about humor and laughter, and why we need it, and how we can bridge that gap. Because what I find is that if you ask someone's basic permission to share a funny moment with them, or share, something that you see, your perspective, and they say yes to that, then you have their permission to go forward, as
Right.
well as not trying to tell a joke like from the stage perspective, but
Mhm.
just sharing your own, what's happening in the room, or something that you're sharing with this person, so that
Yeah.
you have a rapport building a moment.
Yeah.
So that's more what I try to get people to, culturally, because you're right, culturally there's a lot of backstory that you don't have access to. So there's a lot of jokes you can't get. It's
Yes.
just true. So you try to build rapport humor, based on what you have in common.
So your one woman show in 2023 seemed like a remarkable achievement. What inspired this show and what message did you hope to convey to your audience?
It was first the idea of getting on a bigger stage and taking that and owning it for myself, which
Yes.
gave me the confidence, of course, to move to other bigger stages.
Yeah.
And that show, what I did is I actually built on what is sort of become the foundation of my humor, which is being a Black woman in a small German town,
Okay.
and what that means. And so I built a city that I call Strudelbach, you know,
Okay.
and Strudelbach is this very small German town with, very insular thinking. And so I get to explore with the German people around me, sort of what I've experienced, and sort of my thinking, and all of this as a woman of color,
Yeah.
coming into this society. And I think women enjoy my humor because I talk about, being a woman over 50. I talk about what it means to, always be on fire and have your head spinning, and still just getting up every day is showing up.
Just doing your thing. You have to. You have to. Stopping is not an option.
Ex-
So,
yeah, exactly.
so you mentioned that you've mentored and have been mentored by notable figures in the industry. How have these experiences impacted your approach to comedy and training?
Yes, I've been very lucky. I, I honestly, every door I've knocked on, if that door didn't open, someone came and opened another door and said, "Hey, B, come over here. Let me show you." And so I have been very fortunate in that way. Like you said, I've had some great mentors, even in the intercultural community. I've worked with George Simons, who's really big in the intercultural communications, on the intercultural communication stage, and I got to share a stage with him and uh, Madrid, not Madrid, a very small island. um,
Okay.
okay, it'll come back to me. But I got
Yeah.
to share a stage with him, and I've gotten to be on stages with my mentors, and that has just helped me to know that what I'm thinking, that people get it, because at first I was like, humor. And the first business coach that I spoke to, he said, no one's going to buy humor. No one's going to invest in humor. That's gravy. People want meat. And so it's turning people's perspective and saying, look, you do need this. And I mean, with things out there now like laughter yoga, I mean,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of ways that people are seeing, and there's plenty of research coming out saying how impactful laughter is to your health, and even to the bottom line at your company. So I've had that message, and the people I've spoken to have also shared that message. George Simons and I worked on a project. He runs Diversify, and Diversify has games. And we had Diversa Smiles, which is all about humor and what's funny and culturally what do we laugh at.
Awesome.
And yeah, and so I've gotten many great opportunities, and I've been very thankful that people have opened the doors for me. Thank you. Yes, even you. Thank you.
Yeah, laughter is medicine. You know, when we laugh, we release those endorphins in our brains. You're onto it, in that now more and more people are seeing the value of infusing humor in everything you do. It is medicine. It's a natural way for us to balance out those imbalances in our hormones. So you're on the right track there. So,
Exactly. Oh,
mhm.
I'm sorry, Malta. That's where we were. We were in Malta.
Okay, okay. So, in your work as a communications trainer, how do you incorporate your experiences and insights as a comedian to empower women, especially in a professional setting?
Well, to empower women in a professional setting, as I said, my niche is more women, coaching women who come from their companies to me and have communication challenges that they want to talk about. If I can get them to not only find out about their communication style and their thinking style, but to also try stand up comedy and
Yeah,
get them on stage and get them to relax into that. And then they can take that humorous outlook back to the company and with a more relaxed feeling, and maybe even bringing to the company some ideas about team building exercises. Or so many companies now really are trying to have spaces where people can be creative,
okay,
where humor is allowed, and so these
good.
people that work with these women who work with me, yes, I try to get them on that track so that they feel empowered to go back to their companies and say, hey, why don't we try this? Why don't we try, a motivational humorist speaker? Why don't we try to have, a laugh hour, or, to just expand the creativity and the collaboration and, and everything that comes with being open
I
to
love that.
possibility. Hmm.
So, reflecting on your journey, what advice would you give to women aspiring to pursue careers in comedy, writing, or communication training?
Well, my advice to women looking to get into the communication field, I would say, is find your niche,
Right.
because that more than anything these days is how you make a name for yourself, is how you develop, is to develop from something you feel you're very strong at, instead of trying to be,
Yes.
all things to all people. And what was the other, I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question?
So, the other part of the question was, what advice would you give to aspiring women um, wanting to get into comedy, writing, or communications training?
Okay. Okay. So I
Mhm.
handled the communications training. So
Yeah.
writing and humor. If for humor, for comedy, I would say get out there. I don't care what country you're in. Find out where there are open mics, find out where comedy is happening, and
Mhm.
then get yourself in that on that stage. I started with 2 minutes. That's all they gave me, 2 minutes, and I could barely fill it. I could barely fill it. But you start with where you are and you go with what you have and then you build on that. And as a writer, there's again so many places online now that are looking for writers, that I would say what I'm doing myself is always be honing your craft. Always be looking for a mentor or someone that you see that's doing something that you want to do creatively, and then reach out to that person, have a conversation. I reached out to Judy Carter so many years ago, and I'm so glad I did. So
Yeah.
don't think anyone's off limits. If you see something you want, ask somebody about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Don't reinvent the wheel. There's people who've done it before you who can make the journey a shortcut journey. But if you try and do it the hard way, you could struggle for years to get there. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
exactly. And like I said, I've sent emails to people in my field who are leaders in my field and had them answered, and had people say, why don't you try this, or go there and look at this?
Yeah.
And so, yes, just put yourself out there. If you want it, put yourself out there, read, keep going, and just keep going forward, no matter how slow or how slow it
Yeah,
seems
it
going.
feels. Yeah. B, thank you so much for coming back online and joining the tribe. Really excited to see how far you've come. It's been a few years since we last connected. Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you, Gertrude. Very
And
happy to
thank
be
you
here.
to everybody who's tuned in. For those of you who know B, it's always good to get a refresher as to where our speakers are, where they are in the world, and what they're doing with their careers. So come back again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Thanks again, B.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.